Right now, if the temperature outside dropped to minus 60 degrees, without proper protection, most people wouldn't survive for long. An ordinary jacket wouldn't save you. A small fire wouldn't be enough. Your fingers would begin to lose heat long before you fully realize what was happening. Now here's the part that should bother you. Your ancestors didn't have insulated boots. They didn't have heated homes. They didn't have thermometers to even know how cold too cold was. And they didn't just survive one cold night. Some of them lived through this, generation after generation, for centuries. So today we're going to ask the real question. Not did they survive? We know they did. You're watching this. The question is, how? What did they actually do, with nothing but bone, fire, and fat, that modern humans would call impossible? Stick around till the end, because the last method on this list is the one that still confuses scientists today. Let's start with your body, because this is where the danger actually begins. Your core body temperature sits at around 37 degrees Celsius. Drop it by just 2 degrees, and you're in mild hypothermia. Shivering starts, thinking gets foggy. Drop it another 2 to 3 degrees, and your muscles stop obeying you. Your heart rhythm becomes unstable. Below 28 degrees core temperature, most people lose consciousness. Below 25, the heart can simply stop. This is the wall every human on Earth has faced since our species first walked into a cold climate. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Biologically, we are a tropical species. Our ancestors evolved in the warmth of Africa. We don't have thick fur, we don't hibernate, we don't have a layer of blubber like a seal. So when early humans pushed north, into Ice Age Europe and Siberia, they were walking into an environment their bodies were never built for. And yet they didn't just survive there, they thrived there, for tens of thousands of years. That gap, between what the human body can handle on its own and what these people actually pulled off, is where the real story lives. The Mammoth bone houses. In the 1960s, archaeologists digging near the village of Mezhyrich in Ukraine uncovered something that, at first, looked impossible. Circular structures built almost entirely out of mammoth bones. Skulls stacked to form the base. Tusks curved upward like ribs. Long bones layered like beams. A newly revised study on this site, published in 2025, using radiocarbon dating on small animal remains found inside the structure, places one of these dwellings at roughly 18,000 years ago, right in the harshest stretch of the last ice age. And the data suggests something even more remarkable. This particular structure may have been used on and off for as long as 400 years. Let that sink in. Not one winter, generations. Now I want to be careful here, because this is a point where a lot of channels oversimplify. Archaeologists still debate exactly what these structures were for. The leading interpretation is that they were dwellings, shelters, likely covered in animal hides stretched over the bone frame, built to block wind and hold in heat from a central fire. But some researchers argue certain structures may have also served other purposes, like food storage or even ritual or symbolic use. The honest answer is, it was probably a mix, and we don't have perfect certainty. What we do know is this. These people looked at the aftermath of a mammoth hunt, or a natural pile of bones near a riverbank, and saw building material. Bones that weigh hundreds of pounds each, hauled and stacked with nothing but human muscle and cooperation, to build something that could outlast the people who built it. They weren't hiding from winter. They were engineering against it, the needle that changed everything. Now let's talk about something much smaller, something you could lose in your pocket. In 2016, in Denisovan cave in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, archaeologists found a needle, carved from bird bone, about 7 centimeters long, with a tiny, carefully drilled eye for thread. It's estimated to be around 50,000 years old, making it one of the oldest sewing needles ever discovered. Here's why this matters more than it sounds like it should. A blanket of animal hide draped over your shoulders keeps you warm, but it leaves gaps. Wind gets in, snow gets in, a needle changes the entire equation. It means you can tailor. You can create fitted sleeves, sealed seams, layered garments that trap air against the body instead of letting it escape. Researchers who study Ice Age clothing point out that this shift, from draped hides to tailored, layered clothing, likely happened as populations pushed into colder environments during this period. It's one of the clearest signs we have that these people weren't just wrapping themselves in fur, They were designing insulation. One more thing worth mentioning honestly. We're not entirely sure who made this specific needle. Denisova Cave was home to Denisovans, Neanderthals, and modern humans at different points in its history, and the exact toolmaker is still debated. What's not debated is the skill it took to make it. A piece of bird bone, hollowed and threaded, doing a job that some of the best cold-weather gear companies today are still trying to perfect. Fire, fat, and the art of not starving. Fire feels obvious, but controlling fire through an Ice Age winter was not simple. You needed fuel that would last, in a landscape where trees were often scarce. Evidence from sites across this period shows people burning not just wood but bone and animal fat as fuel. Fat burns slow and it burns hot, which made it valuable when timber ran out. And this connects to something even more important: food. In extreme cold, your body burns through calories at a brutal rate just to maintain core temperature. Lean meat alone isn't enough. In fact, a diet that's almost entirely lean protein, with no fat, can cause a dangerous condition sometimes called rabbit starvation, where the body simply cannot process that much protein without enough fat or carbohydrate alongside it. Arctic and subarctic hunter-gatherer groups, studied across different historical periods, have consistently prioritized fat-rich parts of an animal, organs, marrow, blubber, precisely because fat was the difference between surviving winter and slowly starving on a full stomach. So when you picture people huddled around a fire eating meat, understand, that wasn't just a meal, that was a calculated survival strategy, refined over thousands of years of trial, error, and death. Here's what gets me about all of this. These people had no textbooks, no one to tell them the safe fat-to-protein ratio, or how many mammoth bones you need to block a Siberian wind. They learned it the hardest way possible, through generations of winters that either taught them or ended them. And every piece of that knowledge, the shape of the shelter, the stitch of the needle, the cut of meat you saved for winter, had to be passed down, spoken, demonstrated, remembered. One broken chain of memory, and a family, a whole group, might not make it through the season. We think of survival as a solo act, a person against nature, but everything we just talked about, the bone houses, the needle, the fire, none of it was one person's achievement. It was community. It was memory. It was people teaching people, so that the next winter would be a little more survivable than the last. We're only here right now watching this because that chain never broke. So here's my question for you. If you were dropped into an Ice Age winter tomorrow, with nothing but what your hands could gather, no shelter, no needle, no stored fat, how many days do you think you'd actually last? Be honest. Drop your number in the comments. I want to see how confident you all really are. And if this pulled you in, subscribe, because next time, we're going somewhere even darker. What happened when these same survival strategies failed?